aggression, but that's not the, that's not who I am. It's like if I ask someone like where they're from or like something like that, it like some people say like, "Oh, are you racist?" Like, why do you want to know? It's like, no, it's like I'm just curious. I'm not like racist or just or stuff like that. I just have curiosity, right? Yeah. So okay. Yeah, where were we? So this person, but before this happened, like, did they ever show any sign of this kind of aggression and stuff
They
before?
never did, because pretty much before this happened, I've already deleted all the photos and I would never show a photo of his face. But before this, we were perfect together. He
Wow.
was nice. He was kind. You see what I'm saying? He never showed this
Yeah.
side of him until
Wow.
I came out, and that's when he flipped and became severely abusive. I'm not going to go full into the abuse I endured, because it gets a little in my uncomfortable zone, because I have not severe. I have PTSD from the whole ordeal that I've endured.
Yeah.
Pretty much was, he would severely beat me. I would wake up to getting beaten. Like, I would wake up to him already having his hands on me.
Wow.
I had a loaded gun put to my head multiple times if I threatened to call the police or call somebody for help. As well as he raped me, as well as I finally escaped him. I am glad I escaped.
Holy shit. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
he tried to kill me when I escaped. Like, I was pressed against the wall, his hands on my throat, kind of trying to kill me.
Did you feel safe talking to the police about this?
So
I did talk to the police about it at one point, but since I was presenting as male, then they didn't care at all.
Oh
At
my
all, they
God.
did not care.
Wow.
They didn't do any restraining order for me. They didn't do not even a no contact order. They wouldn't even do a
That's
restraining
insane.
order,
Wow.
because at the time I was presenting as male.
So hang on. So like in relationships, usually there's like a I think sometimes even gay and lesbian, there's like the person who's like being taken care of and the person who's doing the taking care. So was he in like a provider role, or were you in that role, or like you didn't have those roles? It's like you were all just providing.
We didn't really have those kind of roles. I was 18 at the time. We were pretty young at the time. I'm 21 now. But so this is a couple years ago when this all this happened.
Yeah. So was he like more of the masculine type in the relationship, or
pretty yeah, because before I came out, I was always on the more feminine side, even presenting as male in terms of of everything.
Okay.
Because I was in the closet as trans, and I was just gonna basically label myself as what's known as a femboy, which is a very feminine gay man.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much that's what I was identifying as a way to hide in the closet.
Got it. Okay.
Despite the fact that I was bi, I just labeled myself
comfortable
weirdly.
with you being on that, feminine side.
He was fine with that, but I don't know how once I told him I was trans, that's when he got that. You see
That's
what I'm
when
saying?
he snaps.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to
maybe like you being trans made him like not gay, and he wanted to be gay or something like that.
I don't know.
I don't. Yeah.
Life is very strange, right?
Because that's what delayed me from coming out until this October, because it scared me even farther back from coming out. That's why I waited until I was 21 to finally come out to everybody around me.
Okay.
I have some questions for you, though. May I ask? So, like, what kind of things, protections, or whatever do you think need to be developed? Like, what kind of you say you're an activist in this realm, like, what are you guys doing in order to raise awareness, or like what kind of things? Tell me more.
Pretty much what I'm doing right now is getting word out about, like, right now I've taken a little bit of a step back because of all the COVID stuff. And I do have some physical health issues, which involves my immune system as well. So I can really not even supposed to be going to work, but I work a part-time job anyways.
And are you working that job because of financial reasons? Or
yeah, pretty much financial.
So do you know anything about the universal basic income that we talk about? Like, I know, like, you've heard me peripherally, but I don't know how much you know about
I don't know much in depth about it.
Okay, yeah. Is there anyone here that would like to share, or I can too? It's not a big deal. But...
Well, I want to I want to jump in pretty quickly because yeah, like Arthur, you're literally based on what you described, you're literally like my friend Jose, who's
It's
also
Alexis.
It's I just have the author in front of
Alexis.
me
Oh,
by
sorry.
default.
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's Alexis. It
right.
says
Oh,
author on there because I used to have it set to that mostly on
Oh.
Discord because I'm also a published
okay.
author.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Well. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I
Alexis.
changed it to make it easier.
Sorry about that.
You're
But
fine.
yeah, my friend Jose, like she also
Mhm.
yeah, she's also transgender. She's over in Canada, with currently with the French, and yeah, this is a pretty serious issue because like yeah, transgender people. I mean, I'm not an expert on it, but I do know that there is some serious discrimination for those who are transgender and stuff. And you want to talk about abuse? Like my friend definitely went through that. However, she more or less she went through it in the with her parents because they're they're like
The non-accepting
abuse
parent.
they're abusive Asian parents who want to stick to norm and stuff. And it was
Mhm.
like she literally had the same sort of health conditions,
Mhm.
that you have, like PTSD, autoimmune. And it's like,
Mhm.
and like when I try to like tell people about this, they're like, oh, we're all going through it. It's like they just dismiss it easily and they don't really like,
Mhm.
you know, I'm saying like, hey, this person's just like me and they shouldn't go through this. But she actually went over to the French, because it was a matter of life and death. Because most of the discrimination and abuse she experienced
Mhm.
was from the English side of Canada. But with
Mhm.
the French, I mean, now here's the thing: the French do discriminate with those who are like a part of the LGBTQ community. Here's the thing: it's more or less because they're delayed, like they're very like they're not up to date with all the like the modern issues and stuff.
Yeah.
But if they had the resources, yeah, they probably would be a bit more accepting. However, over in the English side, they have all these resources. They know everything
Mhm.
about, the LGBTQ, autism, various other things, and yet they still discriminate and stuff, and
Mhm.
worse. And my friend, she actually did this thing where she leaked some of that information to the French, and like LGBTQ stuff, along
Mhm.
with autism, just for her. And she literally like changed, reshaped like the slowly but surely the French society, and they themselves relate that information to you know similar other cultures like the Greeks, the Hispanics, Italians, Portuguese, various others. Who are pretty much in the same boat. But if they had the resources, like this wouldn't have happened, And yeah, it's yeah, I don't know why people go so far. Maybe it's because like some serious insecurities or whatever.
Mhm.
It's like, but I'd say like, hey, if your guy or whatever wasn't accepting of you, he should have like just left. He shouldn't just like abuse
Mhm.
you
Exactly.
consistently, and because it's like that's malignant narcissistic behavior.
Mhm.
And like you said, like he acted all nice in the beginning, but when you came out and
Mhm.
told him how you were or whatever, he just did a complete 180.
Mhm.
And here's the disturbing thing about Alexis: you get too many people like that in this society, too many. Like they will, especially those who pretend to be your friend, like they will
Mhm.
like in the like on the surface they will be very supportive and loving, or give you all these extra compliments, over the top compliments. And then when you say something they don't like, or when you you tell them what's really going on, whatever, and they don't like that or whatever, or you don't do things their way.
Mhm.
It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr.
Yeah,
Hyde,
like
Yeah.
that's
and
strings attached, right?
right,
Mhm.
exactly. And um crap, what else? Uh, You know, I use like the analogy of the bully.
Well,
Like
well,
the typical bully you know of is like you know, they call you derogatory names like, oh, you're this, you're that, you're fat, you're ugly, etc. I mean, yeah, it's bad, but we at least know what the bully's agenda is. Like, yeah, they're going to go out of their way to treat you like crap or whatever. But then you have the same bully who pretends to be your friend, your the person who's supposed to love and care for you or say that they represent you or they feed you or whatever, you know, and then you later find out that they were playing you and they were that same bully all along, but you discovered it at the, you know, much later on, which is way worse than like, you know, than like some bully going out of the way to like come at you because all this time you thought your friend or your partner or your parent or whatever was there for you and it wasn't like the bully and then you found out that they were. So it's like you know, they essentially lied to you. So yeah, it's like there's so many like this.
And that's been kind of like a thing in our society for generations, right? We have generational trauma too. Like people want to come out, and only recently I think people feel
I mean, that's
safer to some capacity
with conditional love, right? It's like we all heard of like, oh, like parents are supposed to have unconditional love and this and that, but
right,
love is conditional. I mean, it's pretty sad and pathetic, but it's like if you don't, you know, fit into this box that I want you to fit in, then you're not going to get the things that
they easily forget we're human beings. But then the moment like they like if you have a certain identity or whatever, like they associate you with that, or they say, or they automatically go, oh, you're like so and
I
so.
think we can tie this in, and here's why we think Alexis, universal basic income is so important, because it gives you that freedom that this money comes with no strings attached. So no matter who you are, where you come from, or what you do, you'll be getting it no matter what. Because let's say if this guy that you were talking about was providing for you, let's just say hypothetically, and if you detached from him, like you could not, you know, provide for yourself, that's why it's important to have this, you know, this money with no strings attached. So if you need to get away from toxic, abusive people, you don't have to worry about your
Yes,
survival.
give you the opportunity to escape. Yeah.
Yeah, because like right now, I've taken a step back with my activism because I have several health problems. A short list is like fibromyalgia as well as seizures and
Yep.
various other things. So I've had to take a
Those are
step
typical.
back. So I've had
Those
to
are
take a
typical things you get from abuse. Yeah. Like
because I
my
had to take
friend has the same thing. You know, and yeah, I myself have, and also my friend Militia over in South Africa. It's like there's literally the same sort of, you know, same sort of health problems and stuff that correlate that, you know, oddly enough correlate with abuse of any form. And it's not just physical. It's like it could be emotional, it could be emotional, mental. Like that's why most victims have all these mental problems and stuff. So
they do
yeah, it's
this
like
thing
it's serious.
they do this thing called the ACE score, adverse childhood effects, and they've literally proven that if you've been abused like before the age of 18 with these 10 different areas of your life, you are more likely to have chronic and pain and you know, disease.
Well,
And that's what's happening. Like you're just
Tim
proof of this concept, which is
Ryan,
terrifying.
Which I mean, well, my chronic illnesses don't range from my abuse. My only one that does is my PTSD. Besides that, I've had fibromyalgia since I was about 12, and then seizures since 2016, like October 2016. You know what I'm talking about, Faye? You know the event that I'm
I've
talking about
had
that
seizures as
caused
well.
my seizure disorder. You're the one that saved me with that one.
Well, I mean, Tim Ryan, who we had on, who's like a congressman, was talking about these adverse childhood, you know, things. It's like if you have like 4 of them, you know, you're that much more you know, thing to commit suicide. So I mean
Yeah.
it's sad. So that's the thing. It's like our stupid schooling system doesn't go
to the core of what's causing the problem. They just nibble around the edges, or they just completely ignore it. But we've shown that when we help people deal with their traumas and their bad experiences, they do better in like their test scores. But somehow our system is so stupid or corrupt or idiotic, I don't know, that they don't go to these problems because I don't think that this system that we're living under really gives a damn about how happy or how sad we are, unless we're like buying McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken and like getting the new iPhone and shit.
I
like
think
that.
this is a good segue for something. Okay, Alexis, I would love to hear you talk about. Okay, so you're trying to make a living for yourself, going to work and stuff. Now,
What'd you say?
Well, sorry. You were trying to live your life and go to work and make money, right? And you have all these health issues, and you're also trans. I would like you to, if you're okay with it, explain work experience for you.
Well, when I got my first job, it was at I'll be honest, it was Wendy's, and then everything was fine there. I didn't come out then. I mean, I talked to some of the people still. They knew. Everybody around me knew, they said, but they just didn't want to bring it up. But about the whole being trans, they knew, but without me telling them. I don't know why. And then I quit there because some stuff happened when I was what's known as an unofficial manager in the restaurant business, where I was doing the management duties but not having the title or the management pay. I quit there, and then I went to a different franchise of the same restaurant name because I tried another restaurant, couldn't get it good. That one I was out already. I was pre-transition though. I was just out and using a different name. I was not on any medical related transition track at that point. Didn't even have any plans at that point. I didn't know what to do, where to go. I had to figure everything out. And everything was fine up until I got to meet a certain manager there that was the night manager. I was on night shift, unfortunately. And because I would work the 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. shift. Normally get out of there about 2 in the morning, stuff like that, because of all the cleanup stuff had to work. And it turns out what I did not know is that he was very, 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 very transphobic and against LGBT in general. I was stuck with him. I had to endure the whole discrimination at work for several months until I finally found a way out, because I finally had enough evidence to, lodge a whole formal complaint against him with the actual evidence for. You see what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, you had to deal with a decent amount of harassment.
Yeah.
And even when you tried to make claims, right? Like nobody was doing anything with them, right?
And his downfall actually was he decided to randomly go on this long rant in front of a long rant that was full of just transphobia in general, specifically aimed at me, in front of both customers and employees. That was his downfall. That's what got several complaints, and that's what finally got the case opened against him.
How long of a period of time was this?
About 4 months.
That is 4 months too goddamn long.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
That's
you see, and everybody says, just a quick interjection, that work is just like work, and like it shouldn't have to do with like anything else. But you see, the thing is that like if you quit that job, that wouldn't have been because you were lazy. It would have been because you were being harassed, and people don't understand that.
And this guy was a preacher or a pastor or something?
Yeah, he was a pastor. But that's the ironic thing. He was a pastor, but I can be. I'm fine with that. I have a friend that's a pastor. They don't care about the whole being trans, being LGBT. They don't care about that because they're more of a progressive type church nowadays, right now. So But that's beside the point. I can understand being a preacher, but you don't have to push your views on everybody, because he was pushing the religious views on everybody in that store. No matter who you were, you had to agree with him on religion. He was
and he's
pushing
like
his views
not
on
working
people.
for Wendy's
They're
anymore,
hypocritical
right?
against
Like,
that.
like he was fired, right?
He was not fired. Last time I checked, he does not work there anymore. But he was not immediately fired. What happened was they transferred me to another store immediately because I had to take this deal. I originally had quit. I called up there one day and just full on quit and told them that I have enough evidence. I don't care about your little investigation. I'm going to a lawyer, and hung up. Next thing you know, within 5 minutes, the district manager was calling me, and he basically said the magical words in corporation to make it where I cannot sue because he offered to make things right. He said, "What can I do to make things right?" Which is a loophole that a lot of companies use. You know what I'm trying to get at?
Oh, I definitely get what you're saying, because like, and you bring up another point
Mm-hmm.
where it's like there's a serious bias when it comes to those in power. So
Mm-hmm.
these abusers you speak of, especially like, your boss, like the reason why they get off so easily is because of the of their title, and like they probably have like
Mm-hmm.
connections and stuff, or
Mm-hmm.
portray themselves as being like the pillar of the community, or or the backbone of the company or whatever. So when someone like you comes forward and say, "Hey, this person, treat me like shit," and they
Mm-hmm.
maybe really messed me up, or what have led me to quit, or not be around certain people, or certain family or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
people just shrug it off and like, "Oh well." But then they ask you the $1 million question: Do you have another job, or do you, like, maybe you should just go talk to a therapist, or maybe you should do all this or whatever. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like, if it was like a like I don't know, if the person was someone that was random, like, yeah, sure, maybe they would if they didn't have a title or whatever, maybe they would get
Mm-hmm.
treated different. Or if they were black, I'm sure they would most certainly be behind bars or something. I mean, unless they themselves are like
But
know
like,
people and stuff. So.
what
So
happened was, once I find our deal, which I was fine with because I never had to see him again. What the district manager did, me and him sat down on the phone, and for about 45 minutes working out this deal, because there was a negotiation period and all that stuff with it about what can we do. And our deal we struck was, I no longer go back to that store at all in terms of being an employee. This very next day, I would be to a different store, that same franchise, but he does not work there. He does never goes to that store. Basically, he will never work there, because with our franchise, a manager from another store can come and fill in for another manager. For example, he would not do that. It was already clearly stated he would not be doing that at our store because of me, and he would be taken off the schedule until he goes basically to this whole sensitivity training shit with corporate up in the corporate offices in North Carolina. That's the deal we struck, which I wasn't really happy about it. I would have rather him be fired over this, because who knows, he may do this again to somebody else,
well,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, did you get any financial compensation for therapy or anything?
Don't count on it.
No.
Yep, called it.
So, okay, I have a question for you now. If you received $1,000 a month, would have you stayed at that job? Every month, it's guaranteed. Would have you stayed at that job for as long as you would have, or that you did?
Dealing with the shit from him, not really, because when I quit, I was already done with it 2 months prior. I was just trying to stick it out, and you see what I'm saying? Trying to say
Yeah.
screw it, and just ignore his ass, despite the fact he was my manager on duty pretty much most nights, except for 2 nights a week when he was off.
So you are saying if you had a universal basic income, you would have quit like at least 2 months prior, if not
Yes.
sooner.
I'll be honest. Yes, I would have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, like that's the thing, because that's the way that they make you take abuse. It's like, if you don't take this abuse, you're not going to be getting this money. So take the abuse and we're giving you the money, or don't take the abuse and don't get the money. So you see, that's slavery. I'm just going to say it. Like, slavery never ended. It's just slavery through coercion. It's not slavery that if you don't do what we say, we're going to kill you. It's slavery is that, okay, don't do what we say. We're not going
slavery.
We're not going to kill you directly, but we're going to kill you indirectly through withdrawing resources from you.
Can I ask why you were?
That's the thing.
Yeah. Can I ask why you were reluctant to say you would? You said, I'll be honest, yes, I would. You seem to be a little reluctant. I'm just wondering why, because you were met with a very positive response that you should have, and it would have been a just thing for you to have been able to quit earlier. But you seem reluctant to come to that conclusion on your own. Can we talk about that a little bit?
It's just pretty much I would have quit by then. But the only reason I did not quit is I needed the money. I live in a household with multiple people. It's not just me and 2 other people. It's like there's 5 people in this house total. And we pool money together and pay bills as a team. You see what I'm saying? And we are scraping by as it is, so I had to keep that job. You see what I'm saying? I couldn't quit because I needed the money.
And we're saying, you're saying it was wrong for you to be in that position to begin with. You should have been able to quit.
And I want to also
leaving
one other thing. I want to point out one other thing. You were going through several health issues, right? And you expose yourself in your life due to these conditions. And then to add the trauma being like put onto you on a daily basis just so you could like help take care of your family, like that is disgusting. These things should not be the reality. But you're only one person I've met who has a story like this. That I've met countless people, and it just breaks my heart. Like, why is our country like having to deal with this shit? We could raise the bar. Like,
why indeed?
Well, you see, I think it goes back to Shale saying that you were a little bit reluctant to say that I would quit. It's because we have this workism culture ingrained in our very DNA ever since we went through our stupid schooling system, and like all the propaganda that has come from all sides that like, oh, if people aren't working, that means that they're a drain on society and they don't even deserve to survive, when it's not. It's so disgusting, this idea that we have that our value derives from, us being a cog in this corporate machine, when we have so many other things to offer the world that the world is just ignoring. So it's like, but you are actively being abused. But the thing is, it's like, oh, but if I'm saying that I'm not going to work, that means it's like I'm not contributing, and I don't, and I don't deserve the money because I don't contribute. And that is the ingrained kind of like thing that it's like, if I tell people that I would quit, they're going to think that like I'm a mooch or a leech or like this, but it's like you're actively being hurt.
So what would happen if all your family that lives in one house received $1,000 a month? How would that change your life?
We would be very good, because the way it's going right now is my stepfather works, but he has very severe health issues, including a history of multiple heart attacks and stuff like that. So he can't really work on his feet a whole bunch. So he works very short hours. Like he uses about 10, 15 hours a week, because that's all he can physically handle. And I work part-time. I do an average of about 20 to 30 hours a week, because my physical limitations, because I have seizures as well as fibro and stuff like that, a lot of chronic pain type stuff. And so really I can't be working a shit ton, if you know what I'm saying, because the chronic illnesses that I have.
Yeah. Did you I read about something it's like something you'd read out of like a James Bond or like a like a cartoon villain, that these Tyson managers were actually betting on which one of these lower employees would get COVID and die, or like betting on people's lives like that. And it's like, oh my God, have we really, really hit so low that people are actually making bets on people's lives of who's going to get sick and die? And
Way
just,
low.
Just because they're like employees. And I'm like, this is the kind of sickening, thing that exists when we live in of like performance based.
Which I'm kind of glad that my current job that I have right now, which is in a supermarket, I'm not going to disclose the name of it, but they understand everything. That's what I'm actually very happy for. I didn't realize that they would understand my limitations beforehand, but they understand it. Like, I've been on medical leave for the past few weeks, and I just went back as of this Monday. Well, not this Monday, but like the Monday that we just passed.
Do you feel like it's harder to find a job given your situations?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you've got
Because
a lot of like roadblocks, right? Like your situation needs a lot of
accommodations.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
because, like, for example, not everybody would want to hire somebody that has a chronic pain illness that causes a very random, that flares up of the pain where I can go from like a average of about 5 to 6 is 6 to 7 is about my average. And go from there, it could skyrocket to past 10, past the number 10. Not everybody would want to hire somebody like that where it can happen at random and they can't come into work for that kind of reason. And not a lot of people would hire somebody that has a seizure disorder and has seizures at random, which I do. Right. I mean, I'm on anti-seizure medication, which prevent most of them. They prevent, but I do have them every so often.
How does your medical look like? How much do you like? Are you paying a lot of stuff out of pocket for your medical stuff, or like,
for doctor's appointments and all that, I am paying. I'm on like a payment plan with all my doctors. Like, for example, with Planned Parenthood, they're the one that's overseeing my transition. One of the ones in North Carolina. They're the ones that are prescribing the hormones, doing the monthly checkup. Well, every 3 months, I go up to North Carolina for the appointment.
You literally have to leave your state just to get this. Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
I mean, they do one in South Carolina, but it's quicker to go to North Carolina because the other one is 4 hours down the road to Charleston, South Carolina, instead of an hour and a half up to North Carolina.
That's a decent distance between locations.
Either one of them.
And then you got to pay for the gas and your time.
So here's the thing, but like Alexis, how about if like you and your family could pool that $1,000 a month to kind of like create your own business or do your own idea, or like or just like you don't have to be on this timeline to kind of like find a job and make money, and you can kind of like see what works best for you instead of being worried all the time. Like, how would that help?
It would help a lot.
Right.
Well, because you've also written a couple books at this point.
I've already released.
Like, shamelessly name drop and plug them. You're totally welcome to, by the way.
What?
Like, you can talk about them if you want, but I'm just saying.
Not
like,
really.
No, okay.
I'm probably not going to talk about them a lot because I've already starting to get exposure. I mean, I could give a little exposure in here. I don't mind. It's just I don't like literally basically advertising my work. I really don't.
No, that's okay. But like, see, you're a creative, right? You can make these things. You can have other people escape into these realities you've helped create,
Yeah.
And you could like focus on even just simple things like that instead of trying to, bust your ass and suffer pain just to feed yourself,
Yeah, like I'm working on my novels. I've already released 2 fully published novels. Right now I'm working on the 3rd novel. The 3rd one is set to release probably next year, more than likely next year. Because I'm only up to like, let me actually open Apple Page if I always keep it open. I'm up to I'm looking at it now, page 59 out of at least 200 is what I'm on now. It's probably next year when the next one's out.
Hey, I know I might sound like a broken record, but try not to push yourself, too much. It's like, if you
Yeah,
feel
I
yourself
know.
like, yeah, it's just like because like if you just ignore like your body's limitations or whatever,
Hmm.
it's just gonna get worse. I mean, but then and again, I know it's easier said than done considering, you know, our current situation, especially yours.
Hmm.
And it's like, I mean, yeah, it's like if only we did have, more, a form of UBI or cash relief or whatever,
Right.
rather than just
Hmm.
a
Then
one-time
it would
thing.
be like it's funny because I come across so many ignorant people that say like UBI will make us less autonomous when it's actually the opposite. It'll make us more autonomous because we're not beholden to any person who already has the money, and we
Yeah.
can be more free to work on our own projects and our own desires and our own kind of like what we think we've been put on this earth to do. And if we don't know yet, we can find out. But without it, it's like we're in this constant hamster wheel of finding the next thing,
Yes,
though it's not
it's
for
exactly
us,
hamster wheel.
I
right?
mean,
Yeah,
like, the reason I write mostly is to create, it's kind of stupid sounding to say, but it's to create a false reality that I can pick, that I can basically, in my mind, picture and basically, you see what I'm saying? It's weird sounding.
Yeah.
It's a creative outlet
yeah,
to
for
like
sure.
create a
Because
false
I mean,
reality.
if the reality right here sucks, you'd
Yeah.
rather live in a fall. I mean that's why people go to movies. That's why
Mhm.
I don't
people,
blame you.
do virtual reality, or that's why. I mean, it's not just you. I mean, the regular
Mhm.
average American. It's like, why do you think they come from work and they just turn on Netflix? Because they
Mhm.
probably don't like their job. They're probably bored and they have nothing better to do. So they sit in this false reality of like, TV movies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But the thing is like with a UBI, it doesn't have to be false. It
Mhm.
can be a real reality. You
I
know,
do want to ask. I do want to ask real quickly. I mean, this may seem a bit random, but Alexis, how long does it take you to like, write up those novels or just
Um.
anything or whatever? Like, because like you say, you have chronic health and various other things. Like,
Yeah.
does it take you quite a while, or are you
It
able to like?
doesn't because in the first place, I'm mostly laying around in bed because for a lot of most of the time I'm in bed with my service dog cuddled up to me, and so I just go on my MacBook and then from there just write away pretty much some of the times all day.
Oh, was no wonder why you're able to do this because you have a service dog. And if you didn't, like, I'm sure it would be
Yeah.
a too.
so Alexis, here's what I'm kind of thinking. When you were like in a gay relationship with that guy,
Hmm.
like were how much discrimination did you face when you were gay but not trans or before coming
It
out?
was not as bad, believe it or not, because it's for some
Huh.
reason a lot of people are fine with people being gay or bisexual, but once the transgender topic comes in the mix, they hate it.
Do you think South Carolina might be a little more harsher on like LGBTQ?
Cultural wise and location wise, yes. I am lucky to be in the suburbs of Greenville County. In terms of like downtown Greenville, I'm in that general vicinity. I'm in I'm in the suburbs in this little area that is more progressive where I don't have to worry about anything at all. So I am lucky to be in this area of South Carolina. However, some other areas are not as accepting because the state itself is it's a Republican state, it's a red state. So it's not as accepting in general on the political basis as well as the personal belief basis. There's a lot of discrimination against gay people and trans and pretty much LGBT in general.
Yeah, the suburbs are hit or miss, but it's usually like the rural areas that are like the
Hmm.
most, the most
Most
discriminating and
phobic.
stuff. I mean, in general, I mean,
So
not trying
Yeah.
to generalize, but yeah.
so what
Have
would
you
you like to see change?
Um, More acceptance because there are people around here that are actually afraid to come out over this fact because no matter where you are, there in South Carolina, there is a lot of hate, but my area is pretty progressive in terms of like the surrounding area.
And even you have problems there, even though how progressive it is. But like, how Faye, how did you meet? Or
we used to play Minecraft together.
Yep, I still remember the server name.
What a weird way to meet.
Yeah.
I mean, it went from just playing on video games to talking a lot. We talk just almost daily now, unless I'm having like a bad health day where I'm mostly like laying in bed, sleeping most of the day. Because I have days where I'm sleeping most of the day because of my issue.
Here.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, because it's so funny when they say if you give people this $1,000, they're just going to want to do nothing. But actually, I think people want to do more nothing and just sleep and not do anything when they see that they're not cared about and they're not being invested in. Then people just become lethargic and bored and not want to do anything. But when you show people that you care about them and you want to help them, they're going to do more. Like, do you think that if you were given $1,000 per month, it would make you want to, write more in that book and like do your thing, or you'd want to do it less?
I mean, I would still write the same amount, but in terms of my part-time job, I would keep that as well, because I'm fine working as long as I can get around. I don't bring my service dog to work because it's a supermarket deli, so I'd rather not bring my service animal. But my work does have on file literally everybody, all of my coworkers in deli. I already had basically a talk with them about my seizures, because I didn't disclose it when I first got the job, up until a major incident happened at work involving a seizure, and I was found unresponsive. That's the only reason I disclosed it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? I think the thing is like, if you like the work that you do and you like the people that you're surrounded by and they understand you and they accept you, even if people paid you for no reason, you'd still go to work because you enjoy who you're around and you enjoy what you do. Same thing with me. I mean, I worked at Best Buy as a seasonal, and then when the season ended, they didn't keep me on, but I wouldn't mind working there still right now. And even if you paid me $1,000 a month, I'd still work there because I enjoyed the job. I mean, I don't know why it's so hard for stupid people to get this through their stick empty skulls. I'm sorry. It just pisses me off.
Yeah.
And I do want to say real quickly that they should, like, for safety reasons, they should allow you to bring your service dog, because it's like, you got seizures. Like, I mean, I know this, like, you probably have the service dog for other reasons, but seizures. Oh you do not want to play with that. But it's like, but also,
speaking of seizures, I do remember how back when I worked with the discrimination, I had a grand mal seizure on the job at work, and it lasted for about 6 minutes. And at 5 minutes, you're supposed to call paramedics, because at 5 minutes, it can become damaging to the brain.
Yeah.
He didn't care. He didn't care at all. He just let me basically seize there without doing anything about it, just walking around me and every fucking thing. You see what I'm saying?
He know?
He knew about it. My work, all the jobs I've had, they know about my seizures.
But to call, they know about calling?
I mean, I have basically, when I disclosed it when I first got the job, I gave all the managers a little talk about it, told them when to call 911, which is after 5 minutes. And I told them what to fucking do. I got a fucking I got a concussion from that, because they did nothing to help me. Because all you have to do, for example, is put something underneath my head to basically cushion between the floor and my head, and there was a much lower chance of actually getting a concussion from it.
You see,
I got a severe concussion from it.
It could have been fatal. It could have been fatal if they didn't.
Well, I mean, no wonder you tried to do what you did. I mean, this makes a person really depressed when they feel like nobody cares about them. If if they're
sleeping a lot for me, the sleeping a lot part for me and laying around a lot is because with fibromyalgia, you have a lot of fatigue and overall tiredness from it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm
Yeah.
not on my feet if I'm at home. That's why I'm usually laying in bed.
And
That's the thing.
I've actually had seizures in the past as well. So, and even though like I took medication for it, I still get like tremors and also like these tics or
So
TICS where it's like rapid harsh blinking and stuff.
Yeah,
So it's like,
normally,
it can.
normally my anti-seizure medication, which I'm on Lamictal for 2 reasons. I'm on it for anti-seizure as well as mood stabilization. I'm on it for both reasons. It's a 2 bird, 1 stone kind of med with me.
I took
You-
Tegretol.
And
You know-
from there, it normally prevents most of them. Like I'd say about 98%. I still do get like 1 to 2 seizures a week, but that's about it. It knocks a majority
you
of them out.
downplay this. That is far too many. Like that is.
You know,
I'm so sorry that happened.
I really think that you see, with the if we all had this 1,000 a month and we've been accumulating it ever since we were 18 years old, like let's say that Izzy and you and Faye or whoever, since you guys both know about your stories, you could like maybe use that $1,000 a month that you had, let's say hypothetically, to like create some sort of like seizure awareness or like mental health awareness initiative, and you could have used your own resources and maybe make that into some kind of like non-profit or something. I'm just kind of like throwing ideas here, you know what I mean?
I want to follow up. I want to follow up on that because, like, I mean, yeah, we're trying to try now, but I feel like that might only work if if everyone starts getting $1,000 a month. Because like when they do, like all of a sudden people just wake up like, we're in a fucked up world. We should do something. And then like you start like,
because like
then you start bringing
the
awareness,
reason.
and then well, I'm just saying like it's like the other here's the other thing I don't want to mention. You want to know what else causes seizures? Stress. And when there's lots of stress around, you're most likely going to get one of those episodes, one of those seizure episodes, or even like a major panic attack. Because for me, like I would get panic attacks that are so severe that it would look like I'm having a stroke. Like that's how bad it could get. And like and it's like, but if I was, and this actually got worse due to like a lot of the emotional abuse that my parents put me through, especially my father. So it's like I started having these problems with like spacing out and not knowing where I am, and like having these weird stroke-ish panic attacks. And then like when I hear the argument about, oh, if people started getting money they'll be lazy, let me tell you something. I actually made a post about this. All right, the reason why people would usually like binge or spend a lot is due to stress. So like that's why like they like, oh, they just blow all the money or whatever. That's the reason. Like they're in a bad environment, and so when you're able to like de-stress them, get them out of that environment, whatever, yeah, they'll and give them enough resources, enough means to for them to survive. Oh yeah, like they'll be much healthier. They'll be able to manage it better. They won't be splurging and whatnot. Like they'll be the best version of themselves. But people give them,
because it's all coping mechanisms, right? Like
right.
all these things.
Yeah.
What are we coping from?
Bingo.
We're coping from not being able to survive very well, and like we live in an environment.
And to have this happen in a day and age where we have like AI and automation and space travel and like all these things, it's like, why the
phone
fuck
updates
we're forcing ourselves to exist like cavemen when we have these things. I'm saying we have Stone
Makes
Age
no sense.
leader. We have Stone Age leaders in a space age world, and they better get the fuck out of here soon because it's starting to piss me off.
Sorry.
Yes, preach it.
But like I know, like you just said, Faye, I downplayed the amount of seizures that I actually have, which is 1 to 2 a week. I am actually downplaying that because I am very thankful for my Lamictal, because you want to know how many seizures a day I would have if I didn't have my Lamictal in my system?
How many?
5 to 6 a day.
A day.
Yeah. That is
How
why I
much does it
downplayed
cost?
that number, because I am very thankful that I only have 1 to 2 a week because of my medication with it.
How much is this medication costing you?
I use
You don't
GoodRx
want to know.
Gold, so I use GoodRx for a lot of my meds because I do have insurance, but with GoodRx, it's even cheaper than my insurance because my insurance is not that great, so it doesn't cover half of the stuff. So pretty much
What-
the most it covers is ER visits. I pay $300, they pay the rest, and then various other things. They cover hospital transport and stuff like that.
What
I
is GoodRx? If it
Huh?
is not an insurance plan, what is GoodRx?
GoodRx is a discount plan. I do have regular insurance, but it doesn't cover much. With the meds plan, my insurance has Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina. The most they cover is 50%. And meanwhile, with GoodRx, I can get stuff for like $2-3 versus the $20 that my insurance would have given me.
Huh.
GoodRx is not insurance, but it is it's a medication discount plan.
It's like a
that
supplemental
is.
health plan.
It's not really any kind of insurance. It's not insurance at all.
Mm-hmm.
They pretty much make manufacturer coupons for medications. Like, for example, I can get my seizure med. Let me actually open the app because it tells me the price on the front page.
What is the original price of the seizure med?
I'll
Really
tell you.
what
Like,
Give me
I'm
a
glad
second.
that
I'll
you
tell you in
have
just
a
second.
stopgap, but it's so frustrating and stupid that a stopgap like this needs to exist. That there's a stupid little cottage industry. And then what happens is, like, you know, when there's a cottage industry, you know, if the stopgap is making its own money, then they're not going to be interested in changing anything either. So everything just.
I do also want to say pretty quickly, since we're on the subject, it's like you know, don't just assume that because one medication worked for someone else that it will work for another person. Because like
Oh,
I
hey,
myself,
you know, that
Everybody's
reminds me.
different.
Have you tried cannabis
I
for your seizures?
yeah, I myself
At the
I
most,
myself
Yeah.
like
go ahead.
I was saying, like, I myself have taken Lamento. Like it definitely, the name rings a bell, but it didn't help me at all. So it's like it's like it might work for you, but not for anyone else.
Yeah,
I do
like for
say,
me,
like,
it works really good.
yeah, but I do want. Here's the thing, like, my friend Jose, like, when she went to, like, the French hospital, whatever, they gave her a full checkup so they can get an accuracy as to, like, what sort of medication she needs. Whereas, like, over in the English, like, they were just, they're essentially like using her as a test subject. Like, okay, let's try out this medication. Oh, it doesn't work. Let's try out this medication. And she's just getting worse, every single time. So we should be giving the doctor should be giving us, like, full absolute checkups so they know for certain, like, yeah, this will work for this person, and that work, or it's like, okay, maybe they should just take CBD or whatever, but we don't know for certain. They can't just try and keep trying it out on us and see what happens, like, because that's malpractice and it only makes things worse. So I mean, like, I think that's what also UBI can help with, like, being able to train these doctors more to, like, give us the proper doses and the proper diagnosis, because also, like, to figure out, like, our what sort of health problems we have, like, if we did develop, like, PTSD or whatever, and various other things, rather than say, oh, you just have depression, just go exercise. Like, no, we should be given a full checkup, full prognosis, and not just you know but it's like but nowadays, like, these doctors are just, I would say, I would go as far as say lazy. They're not really putting in the
They're
work,
not
and
lazy. I think they're stressed out and overwhelmed.
yeah,
Like,
just like the therapist,
and they doubt themselves, right? They have their own anxiety to helping prescribe things. And they're like, well, I guess this is what you need, but if you think about, like, Big Hero 6, which is a movie hopefully you guys have seen, but essentially
I haven't seen it. I've heard of it.
Okay, well, essentially this robot scans the person and caters the medicines to the person's DNA, right? And I think
Gives
we're
them
not that
full
far
body
off from
scan,
technology like that. I think we could get there if we don't kill off the people who could like solve the equation, right? Like, you know, we might have geniuses that are in poverty that can't afford their bills right now, right? Like, let's free up their time so they could figure out how we could better take care of each other. Like, that's kind of my concern, right?
I mean, you would think we have that sort of technology now since 2020, but or then again, we had this one guy, I think Andrew Yang mentioned, like who had this dialysis machine, and yet somehow he didn't was able to like start the business, and then big pharma started like making profit off it and stuff. So it's like
I think the sad thing is this, and it all relates, is that these problems are so solvable and so they're actually not even that complicated. The
not at
problem
all.
is it's like we have people who don't care about solving them, and they just want to pretend that they're these unsolvable problems that you know it's complicated and we're doing the best we can. I'm here to say no, blow it out your ass. You don't care. It's like you just don't care. They just don't care. And like UBI would go so far in just letting people help themselves instead of counting on these incompetent shit institutions that we have right now that that don't care. You know,
and if
I'm
people
sorry.
have money, and they want to maybe even do an alternative medical plan, right? Maybe they don't like, you know, doctors, and they don't want chemo and all this other stuff. They can still, you know, they don't have to go beg a doctor who's going to take their insurance to, like, you know, not fire them for trying an alternative thing, right? Like, these are things that actually happen.
But by the way, now you know we started this thing and it was just you and me, Faye. Now we have all these things in here. Are there any comments on the Twitch stream right now? Like people asking questions or anything like that? You know, that we can answer, because like
Like
let's
they
have
actually
this.
ask comments.
What?
Hey, one of y'all brought up the fact about cannabis. I want to try it, but there are two reasons I cannot. One, it is illegal where I live for both medical and recreational. Is both illegal, as
Yeah.
well as
Yeah.
I have a history of addiction in my past, and smoking cannabis is a very big no-no. Any form of cannabis, because what happens is you'll probably get the high that cannabis will give you, but then from there, you will want the high that you used to have, which unfortunately that was part of the reason that I had a relapse a few months ago, and why I broke my sobriety, and I'm, as of now, about 3 months clean.
Well, I'm happy to hear you're clean again, and you know, like it's so sad that you can't have a tool like this, you know, as an option. I mean, I would rather see you addicted to marijuana than some of the other stuff you've been on, right? Like I
was on ecstasy, like very, very high doses, to the point where it's a 1 out of 2 brain cells left type of high dose of ecstasy when I was 14 to 16. And then this year, for about a couple weeks to a month, I was on oxycodone.
And the thing is, like, you have so much pain, right? Physical pain. You have emotional pain, right? And like that's the reason you even turn to these things, right?
It's like with Dr.
Like,
House,
for
and that.
example, when I relapsed, that one was to basically try to numb the PTSD type stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, you had legit reason to relapse, in my opinion. You had some
morphine.
shit happen to you, man.
Yeah.
Like that was, whew, yeah. So
No,
like,
I've tried to stay away from controlled substances in general, as well as stuff like cannabis and various other things, because of that reason. That's why, with all the doctors, I willingly signed a form that says never prescribe me controlled opioids or any other controlled substance, because I don't want to be back on controlled substance to gain, basically,
you don't
relapse.
want to take the risk. You don't want to take the risk, right?
Yeah.
Yet, how are you supposed to handle your pain, right? Like it's just like,
in terms of for my fibromyalgia type pain, with that I am basically on a very high, higher than over the counter strength of like ibuprofen. It works some, like enough where I can get by, but it doesn't work the greatest. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Like it helps, but it doesn't do it a full job. I go from like the normal. I'm usually normally without the medication, I'm at a 7. For a couple hours after I take it, I'll go down to about a 4, but I'm still in some pain.
Well, I just want to say thank you for your vulnerability on even talking about this, because we can't solve the problems if we don't know what people are really doing, right?
Right. If we don't know what the problems are, if we can't identify the problems, we can't solve the problems. And that's why it's so important. Like all these problems that we've been talking about right here, what the hell do they have to do with GDP in the stock market? Like zero, right? So the next time you see some dumbass politician talk about the GDP in the stock market, you're gonna be like, okay, so what the hell does that do for me, you idiot? It's so, it just frustrates me so much. It's like, okay, what are you doing about people's like happiness and mental health and like their quality of life? And you can take the GDP and stock market, you can shove it up your ass and light it on fire.
Exactly.
We can tell you're a little passionate about this.
Yeah. But like one of y'all mentioned, I forget who mentioned about like the school system with bullying and them not caring and all that. So one of y'all did?
I think that was me. Maybe.
I am proof of how the fact they don't care. I'll be honest, I'm gonna be fully open about this. Faye knows what I'm about to bring up. In 2016, I was severely bullied in school over my sexuality. Back at that point, I was identifying as gay when I was actually bi, because I didn't realize that I may also be into women as well at that time, and I was severely bullied about that. Remember that, Faye?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
and eventually one night I saw a bottle of Benadryl and I took them all handful by handful. And that's why I have my seizure disorder, because what happened to the body is that causes massive, like 8-9 minute length seizures with about 15-20 seconds in between. It caused so much damage to me physically that I have memory recollection problems, where it's hard for me to remember stuff after like a length about 10-15 minutes. That's when my mind starts forgetting shit, basically. And that's why I also have seizures, chronic seizures from it, because of that. So, there was actually, what you don't know, Faye, is there was 2 reasons I did it. The majority reason was it was from the bullying, and the next reason as well was because it was close to the anniversary of when I lost my child. You don't know about that, probably.
Well, I know you've mentioned losing your child.
Yeah, I've mentioned it. I'll be honest, I was a heavy drug user at the time. I was running with the girl. We were sleeping together and all that stuff, and she ended up pregnant without my knowledge. I didn't know about this until it was too late. By too late, I mean she miscarried. But you see what I'm saying? It's hard to explain in terms of how I feel about it. But it's
you
still
even dropped out of school because of this.
The bullying was a majority reason, but as well as it was close to that kind of period in my life. It was like just about 1 year after, because the actual date it happened was November 19th, 2015. That attempt on my life was October 20 something, and then that was 2016. It was, you see what I'm saying? It was a bunch of reasons mixed together, but the 2 biggest reasons were the depression over my child that I lost.
Hey,
as
Alexis.
Well as, yeah?
Alexis, that like when you mentioned like when I think you said October 2016, like that's when you started having these issues. That was literally around the time when I started like I think I was in school and I started like getting, these the chronic, mental problems and stuff. And I think it was early 2017 where I started, I was literally saying to myself, I'm gonna die. Like this is gonna kill me. And I was literally in school and I'm saying these things, and I'm coming out of school like a freaking like a zombie, like not knowing, like can't even think. I'm like with all these emotions. I have no idea what the hell is going on. All I know is that it's bad. And I like even like there were like a couple people trying to like start something with me. They were trying to like get in my face, and I wanted to, like, I was having very dark, violent thoughts, and I don't usually have that. I was like, okay, I just want to like throw them through the effing wall. that's how I was feeling every time they did it. And I said, okay, I need to get out of here. This is not me. But then I was like, what the hell's going on? And then these people were just like this. A lot of people just dismissing it, especially my family. Like they're even like getting up my face even after I said, hey, something's not right about me. Like I do not want to be bothered, and they just laughed at me. And then to the point where I did like I had reached my breaking point, and they just called the police on me. And then the officer was like saying, "Oh, it's just another black family," and also just dismissing it left to right. And and then they went back to like saying, "Oh, why aren't you talking to us? Like, please forgive us." It's like, and like that's what I was dealing with. I'm sitting here going like, I'm literally dying, and people still want me to like act a certain way, or to play the role of the nice guy and stuff. And I'm sick of it. It's like, but Leah, like when you having those issues, like that's when I started. That's when it started getting worse for me. And around 2014, that's when I started. I got like some warning signs of like me, like being spaced out and not knowing where I am, and just like having to like sit in one corner and just look out into space. So it's like, and then this literally happened like around time when the trauma that I went through like escalated. So yeah, and I have been the same since. And then people try to dismiss it as like, well, we all go through it. Well, then fucking help. It's like, what the hell? It's like that's
Exactly.
what you get nowadays. It's like these people are just trying to like normalize it and not do anything. And I don't care what you say, that is a form of laziness, because all you're just invalidating what we're going through. And then you're just saying like, oh, shrug it off. And I swear, if they tell me to get a job one more time, their head is going through that wall. It's like, yeah, it's like that's how.
insensitive, right? And it hurts, and it's like
Oh yeah,
they
it's
just don't
callous.
see. They don't see the pain.
It's
See,
despicable.
I'll go into a topic right quick. See, invalidation, that is a thing that angers me at times. Like what happened was about a couple months after everything happened with my child when they were miscarried, and because I've always this is hard to say. I've always wanted kids always. I've always had that maternal type instinct that I want kids. But I am actually sterile because of the transition, the way the testosterone blocker affects the body. After so long, you become sterile essentially. Even if you go off the hormones, you will not produce enough. You know what I'm talking about. You won't produce enough to actually have any children with it. And I'm completely sterile, so I've always wanted kids, and that was pretty much my one shot, which I didn't even know about until later. Till just after everything happened. And somebody a couple months later, they legitimately tried to flip that back on me and use it as an insult towards me about how I lost my own fucking child.
Oh wow, that's sick.
What?
Sick. Like
Which I will admit, I got violent. I will admit, I punched him in the throat, and then a full-blown fight was the result. But in my defense, they were. You see what I'm saying?
They triggered
you were justified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because losing
like
any
I
form
threw
of
a chair at my mother, so I get it. It's like
because losing a child is losing your own child. Even at 16, losing your child is hard. Even at 16 years old, like I was.
And this was when you were going from female to male?
No, I'm male to female.
Oh, okay.
But
oh yeah, someone else had your child.
Yes, I was presenting as male. I was not on the hormones at that time. I was not on any form of testosterone blocker, and meaning I was fully able to biologically reproduce. And I was running with the girl. Both of us were on a hell of a lot of drugs. We were both heavy users.
Yeah.
And one day I got the call, and she was saying all this stuff. I go to her. She's actually in the hospital at that point already, and we find out that she miscarried, which I didn't even know about. I didn't know she was pregnant. She said she knew. She said she knew, but I did not know.
That's why it's like I'm always thinking of like the world is so screwed up. Like I don't know if I want to like bring more people into it. But
Yeah.
if like the one thing I'd want to kind of do is like if someone has a maternal instinct, I just like advise them to like adopt if they're a decent human being.
I'm with somebody now. Me and him have been together for over a year. We're coming up on 2 years next March. And our plan is to settle down together, move in together, then get married, all this other stuff, and then we'll look into options about adoption.
Yeah, because it's like they're already alive, and they're already here, and if they're not happy, like someone should come in and like at least make sure that they're happy.
Yeah.
It's but here's the thing, but what would make that easier to take care of more people in the world if people just got that $1,000 a month, so they're not always worrying about bills. Because if you adopt some kid and you people aren't in a good position with money, then all that stress is just gonna like come off of you guys and go to the kids too. So it's ridiculous.
It's going to get worse. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's the thing. And even if that child wasn't miscarried and was born, wouldn't it probably be so hard on you right now, money wise, to take care of her? Right. So maybe
Because see,
it's
what I want would have. What was that noise? I heard a noise of some kind.
the kid and the money.
Yeah. And like what I was wanting, if I would have, okay, this is where it goes deep into my personal mind that I really don't share with a lot of people, but I'll go ahead and say it. See, what if I would have known she was pregnant at the time, I would have made both of us get clean for the remainder of the pregnancy, and then once the baby is born, she could gladly, if she wanted to, she can gladly sign all custody and rights to me, and I would raise my own child and remain clean. I was originally clean after I got the look in the mirror at my life after the whole miscarriage happened. But that's beside the point. But you see what I'm saying?
It was a lot of pain that you went through, but like you were willing to sacrifice, this escapism essentially. It sounds like what you were going through. In hopes that you could raise a generation that didn't have to suffer as bad. But like what I think we're kind of pointing at is like, I think if you had financial burden and like fear of that, I mean, I don't think your dreams would have necessarily played out like you would have wanted them to, because
I know what you're trying to say.
But see, and that's kind of why we want to fight for UBI, so that if you did decide to take on a child and change your trajectory at such a strong direction, you would be able to have a chance at succeeding with that, right? And your child would feel the effects of that, instead of like all these other things happening. And I think it's really beautiful that you're your heart is even wanting to take care of a child, but like there's a lot of other fundamental things that like would intrude on that dream of yours.
Yeah, that's why we were going. That's what my plan to buy as of like a while now is for me and my boyfriend we've been together for a while, a long time, over close to 2 years. Let's just put it that way. We were going to get a place together, get financially stable, get married, etc., etc., etc. Get enough money coming in that we could adopt a child. You see what I'm saying? That's what our goal was, because we both agree on the topic of there's a lot of kids out there that are in the adoption system, that adoption and foster care system, that need families,
Right? So many. We all just go quiet for a second. Well, because sometimes I cut out, right?
I had an opening.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta take time to like digest, information and stuff. But you see now this is why. But Alexis, what do you think about UBI right now? Now that we talked about all this stuff, right?
I would be all for it, honestly.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you already said if you were getting that money, you would not quit your job because you like your job.
Yeah.
it would just be money to help. It would just be let's say that one day, in fact, you did want to adopt. Maybe the money from your job wouldn't be enough,
But then when you got that money from your job and added it to the $1,000, then it would be enough. You know what I mean? Right? So it's the and I'm pretty sure that that money would make you feel as if you're less stressed out, you know, and when you're less stressed out, you're more likely to do things. Maybe like if you did adopt a kid and you had $1,000 coming in a month, you and the person you're married to, you'd probably go on more trips. You'd probably get them more toys. You'd have more time. You'd probably have a healthier, happier home. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Right. So I don't understand who could be against this. Yeah.
Well, okay, hold on. Like, okay, since we're talking about who could be against it, like okay, the criticism you hear is like, oh, it'll cause inflation, which is bullshit. But there is this one fair criticism that I mean I got from like I think it was like a while back when Andrew was still running, and you know Fred the Felon, he did this video where he interviewed a few homeless people, and he was asked them about UBI, and a couple of them were skeptic of it because they were afraid that if they did get the money, all these leeches and social vampires, they'll come out of the woodworks. I mean, Alexis, you know what I'm talking about. We all have those people where, you know, you haven't heard from in years, and then the moment you make somebody yourself, whatever, they're like, oh my goodness, you got money. Oh my goodness, you're doing
But they'll
this,
be
whatever.
getting it too.
Yeah, right. So well, the other thing is like there are greedy people out there, and
Right.
like they'll like even if they are getting
Well,
it, they'll probably just be like, oh, let me have that. It's like
it's even worse now. Well, actually, like greedy people, they kind of like prey on people who are more desperate. I mean, have you guys heard of
yeah,
payday? Have you guys heard of payday loans?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that the payday loan industry would be against this because they
oh yeah.
can't force you to borrow like if you borrow $2,000 with like 110% interest rate or some shit like that, kind of like crazy nonsense that they do, you know.
There's
And of
no
course,
getting ahead, right?
I
Like you're
right,
constantly
exactly.
falling behind.
And I'm sure, you know who else would be against this? The credit card companies. If you
Yes.
don't have the money and you just like make this credit limit that's like crazy, and then you like use all the credit limit, and then you owe like a shit ton of interest on that, you know, it's good for them, but it's terrible for you. So they're not gonna like this because what makes greedy people who don't care about other people rich is when other people are reckless and desperate. It makes them rich. So if you get
Yeah.
this $1,000 a month and you're not as greedy and if you're not as reckless and if you're not as irresponsible, they're not gonna like that because that hurts their bottom line.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
how
like
you said these
they
people come out of the woodwork when you get money. You know how you just
yeah.
said that. The most funny thing that has happened since I got my first book published. It's not in bookstores. It's being distributed through my publisher, not through bookstores. And then there's the ebook copy as well that I'm distributing myself. I'm hosting the actual ebooks on my own personal website where you download it from there.
Yeah.
And I legitimately had somebody that I used to know come out of the fucking woodwork thinking I'm making all this fucking money now.
And they're like, I'm here to collect. And you're like, I don't got shit, man.
I know, because I'm not making anything off these books. Because my publisher takes most of the fucking money because it's a print on demand type of publisher. Because I cannot afford to put it in stores and then risk not even selling, you know?
Well, it's not just about
Yeah.
money. It's more so about like taking like, you know, if you're getting like any sort of like any sort of recognition or making any sort of accomplishment, they don't want to take the credit. They want to get in the spotlight and stuff. You know, so like yeah, if you're making books with like, ooh,
I
you know,
mean,
ooh, you're making
you
books. You're
see
like,
this with like fantasy football and fantasy baseball and fantasy all
yeah,
this other crap. You know, it's like you have people cheering on these teams, watching, you know, when the Super Bowl.
bandwagoners.
We're just gonna have Thanksgiving, and they get mad when their team loses, and they get happy when their team wins. You didn't do anything. You just sat on the couch.
Right.
It's
And then the thing they didn't realize is the way I'm doing my publishing is I'm selling it through my publisher, through their online store, not through Amazon, not through Barnes and Nobles, specifically through my publisher. And it's print on demand, meaning they take most of it because once somebody purchases it, that's when they print it. They don't print it until somebody purchases it. That way to cut down on any risk factor of like printing too many copies and them never selling.
Right, yeah.
And so my publisher is the one taking most of the money. Plus, the way I'm doing it, because I want to get my name out there real good, I am distributing my ebooks copies through my website for free. Because I'm not going to sit here and charge when I don't even have my name out here yet, and I want to build up my name, my reputation within the writing, basically within the being an author. I want to build up my name before I start actually charging for both ends in terms of ebook and physical copies. You know?
You know, when you say this to me, I'm like, well, if you had $1,000 a month, you could use that to like pre-purchase 1,000 books or whatever, you know, and then okay, maybe that's too much. Maybe even just like 20 books, right? And then you could sell them and test it, right? But you wouldn't have this excess. But now you're like waiting because you don't have any fallback plan. You don't have any safety net, you know. And so it would actually help you to be an entrepreneur.
I think like if you had the $1,000 a month, you could take that risk to just not have it all print on demand, right?
Yeah.
So it's
because
like
my
it's like
publisher, however, the way they run is you can distribute it through them, or if you want to, you can when you're creating the actual information with the publisher on their website, you can actually tick a box on there. And then they'll also submit it to bookstores to have to see if they want to basically make a contract with me about selling my novels. And then from there, we can go from there. But from there, you actually have to pay you have to figure out everything on your own past that. I've already looked into it. And you got to pay more than just like buying my own personal copy. It's like, I have my personal copy still.
So like, yeah, but like the thing is, you have to, like, you're not even able to learn the how to do it on your own because you know you don't even have the extra, you know, finances to learn or the time, you know, like and or energy because your pain levels and you know all other factors. So it's just like, I mean, you almost have to rely on somebody else to take their cut, and you know. Are they earning more than you? Like that's a little concerning, right?
Well, that's pretty much like one of the only physical copies I ever printed because most people are going the ebook. I have one other person that actually bought the physical copies,
and that was on your TikTok, right?
Yeah, she bought them because I told her about them, and she has issues with reading ebooks on phones and whatnot. She has issues with her eyes, so she bought the physical copies in terms of so that way she can read them a lot easier. That's the only other copies I ever sold, and even then, my publisher took pretty much all of that because since it's print on demand, it may be a cheap novel, maybe cheap to buy, about $6 each. But no. Actually, the first one is $6 because it's bigger. The other one is like $4 and something. You gotta think that they're taking a lot of money because they had to print it on demand. So there's a lot of resource costs that comes out of what I would get. You see what I'm saying?
Hi, Alexis. I'm sorry to interrupt you guys but the time is almost up in our originally scheduled program, and I wanted to make sure everybody remembered to put your sign-offs in the live stream chat. If you understand how to do it, you can do it now. Alexis, where would you like our listeners to be able to find you in the future? Would you like to open up some conversations with people? Maybe by social media or something like that?
Yeah, I guess. I have Twitter as well as Facebook, but I don't really use my Facebook much for like business purposes in terms of like communicating with the people that are not in my personal life. So okay. I do have Twitter.
All right. Would you like to share that with our listeners, and they might come and start a conversation with you at some point?
I have two different Twitters. I have at Alexis J Hensley. That is my business Twitter. Last time I checked, I had the DMs off of that one, but you can look on that one, for example, and I could reach out to you with it, for example. But I also have at Alexis J Hensley 2. That is my personal account that has like a lot of random stuff on it and more personal posts. That one does have the DMs turned on for anybody that wants to message me.
Okay, and the number 2, Alexis J Hensley number 2. Very good.
Yeah, I just put like the 2 after it in terms of like I didn't want to make the handle super different, so I just stuck a 2 on the end, and that was it.
Yeah, that makes it really easy.
Makes it easier.
Thank you for coming on our show because it was really a lively discussion. I wasn't participating fully, but I was able to listen, and I felt that you guys did a really great job.
Yeah, because literally 2 minutes before this started, Faye reached out to me and was like, "Hey, what are you doing for the next 2 hours?"
Literally how that conversation went. I was like, "Are you free right now?" Because I really.
And then you're like, "How about you come on the podcast?"
Well,
I
think
was like, "Okay."
Your voice, what you need to say is something that has not been said on, social media enough, because we need exposure to these problems, and it's hard to find people willing to share these kind of things, but we need people to also know we're not alone, right? And by sharing your message, you give other people the opportunity to feel like, oh, wow, yeah, I can resonate with that, right? And or maybe people who know how to solve the problems can finally hear the problems at the source and then create strategy around it. Right?
See, it's weird with me. I have the voice where I can really convey really good, but at times it's hard for me to express what I want to say.
But you did a great job here. So
yeah, it's just I have autism, and it's hard at times for me to express things the way I want them to come out. You see what I'm trying to get at?
Well, now that you've
I also have
autism.
So, I didn't know that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's
now that
it's
you found
the
our Discord server. Now that you've found our Discord server, you are welcome to come back anytime. Shale tends to put the schedule up every Thursday evening. And so if you take a look at our text channels, we have a channel for schedule. You look in there, you can find the schedule for the upcoming week. And sometimes we have a last minute change like today, but generally if you find something interesting you might want to join in, just come at the right time. Everything is posted in Eastern.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll give our handles now. My name is Ariel. You can find me on Twitter at Ariels. And let me see. Sorry about that. And I'm also on YouTube at youtube.com/revolutionary thinking. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Awesome.
Nice. Faye, is that yours that's making the noise in the background?
I have a birdie clock, and I also have a 7-year-old.
Okay, I think I have a bird clock. Yeah, I was like, what is that? All right, I'll give my handle. My Twitter handle is Tisdoney, TISDONEY. I just created a TikTok. Same username.
That's the username you used to use on Minecraft.
Yep, the same name from Minecraft, right? We are searching for team members. We're getting some people onboarded. If you have skills, anybody, we could plug you in. We got tons of homework assignments, if you will. So, we're just trying to crank out the solutions that we've been finding through this podcast in our own like little personal projects. So, please reach out to me if you want to feel like you want to plug into this movement that is growing. And I appreciate that you took the time to listen.
Thank you all for having me on here.
Yeah. Let's see, who else do we have?
Izzy, have you given yours?
Okay, so I'm on Twitter at IZZYBOLDEN. I'm also on TikTok. Funny enough, and it's the same handle as my Twitch. Izzy Reborn 92. IZZYREBORN 92. So definitely give a follow if you want. Instagram, same as my Twitter handle, IZZYBOLDEN. Also have a support group and page for my brand Izzyland, Izzyland Support and Beyond on Facebook. So like where we it's a place for to be your platform and to talk about various other things and be like a safe haven and all other stuff. I'm on YouTube at Izzyland YT. Just uploaded a video not too long ago. IZZYLAND where all the fun stuff is and stuff. I also have a podcast, Izzyland Uncut, IZZYLAND Uncut. And like if you're interested in becoming a guest, like definitely reach out to me on Twitter. Just send me a direct message and we'll set something up and have a great discussion and whatnot. So yeah, no, I mean that's all I could think of so far as like plug handles are concerned. I mean, I'm also on Discord. I think it's Izzy B, IZZYB, whatever. And I mean, I'm like a millennial boomer. I'm pretty like far behind as far as like these social media platforms. I'm still trying to get the hang of it. I'm usually mostly on like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Haven't really figured out TikTok yet, or Discord. Also with Twitch. Like I'm still learning. But yeah, I'm definitely on there. So yeah, you know where to find me.
Awesome. And is Moto fully here? Moto may be just checking on our technical aspects. I'm Faye Koo, and I'm at Palestine Math on Twitter and Faye Koo on Facebook. How about you, Shell?
I am Shale Riley on Twitter and Shale Riley on Discord. And thanks for doing a great job getting the show running without me, guys. And sorry for being late today. But it's really heartening to see that the show goes off without me when I'm not here.
We can figure things out once in a while, right?
Yeah, great work.
We need to always have extra shales in our back pockets. Just in case.
I mean, like when we got you and Jeremy, and you guys are like alternative me's.
All right. Well, it was a really good show. Thank you for inviting our guest, Faye.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks everybody for showing up.
Yeah, thank you, Faye. You're also like an alternative me. All right. That's a weird way to give credit. But anyway.
I stopped the Twitch stream.
Yeah, all right. I'm going to stop the YouTube stream. Come back at 8 o'clock if you want to get silly on the YouTube. I'm going to be doing a social stream, which may be me playing Quake with Sheridan or playing MIDI guitar or maybe something else. I don't know.